Dr. Vishwanath Karad, who is online present with us, Mr. Rahul Karad, and all the dignitaries on the dais, my dear students and teachers, first of all, a very big congratulations to MIT-WPU for celebrating the 4th National Conference on Media and Communication. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I'm just a small drop in the ocean of my dear dad, who's left behind a huge legacy for you and me to cherish and take it forward. And I'll just give you an interesting presentation of his journey, even before independence, through the print media, how he was able to capture and capitalize a graphical satire of the political situation and the political leaders without malice, through his wit and humor. Can I have the presentation? I think it's important to have a little visual impact, because I'm just going to run through some of his sketches that he has done since independence. And this is particularly for the youth that's there sitting right in front of me, for you to know the 75 glorious years of India's independence and Laxman's contribution that he has done since independence. So, okay, till the presentation happens. Laxman has contributed as a journalist and as a cartoonist way back in the early 1940s, you can say. He always wanted to be an artist, and by the time he reached his college days, his aspiration increased to become a political cartoonist. He did have a brief stint with a Punch magazine titled Koravanji in Karnataka, where he was able to contribute and go through a political journey. After his graduation, he came to Mumbai looking for an opportunity in a newspaper to be a political cartoonist. He started his journey along with Balasaheb Thackeray in the Free Press Journal for almost a year. For various reasons, he had to move out of Free Press Journal. And it so happened, the turning point in his career, the day he left Free Press Journal and decided to go back to his hometown, that particular day there was a taxi strike and he had to depend on a horse cart to go back home. As he was passing through Times of India, he instinctively got off the horse cart and walked in looking for a job with Times of India. There was an art director called Mr. Laxman, who kind of already recognized him. Laxman was pretty well known by then, and was ready to offer him a job. So that's how he joined the Times of India from the very next day. He did not start there as a political journalist, but as an artist working for the art department. Times went on, he was not happy to continue just as an artist under the art department. He worked his way through, started sketching political cartoons, and just gave it to the editor and said, let this be your your collection. Feel satisfied? This is only a kind of an exercise for myself, particularly with the current situation that is, that's happening in the country. I have to brush myself, so you can have this collection. It so happened, after a couple of months, his cartoons, his political cartoons in particular, were identified and said, why not carry it in the newspaper? It created sensation, and there was no looking back for Laxman after that. So, the political journey through his cartoons, presented by R.K. Laxman Museum. Next. Laxman's brush and pen spoke and gave the graphical satire of his works, his comment on the political material that he has shaped. His pen was very powerful, very bold, and as if you read his captions, you can understand what I meant. His brush was able to touch upon each and every political leader and the political situation. Next. Let me just go back, to his early years, and I think it's very, very important for you youngsters who do not even know who R.K. Laxman is, how he started his journey as an artist. This sketch of his is when he was barely 3 or 4 years old, never wanted to go to school, always had a charcoal or a chalk in his hand, wanted to sketch on the walls and the floors, or a slate and a chalk, run to the marketplace and keep sketching and observing what was around him. He came from a family of 8 siblings, the youngest, and one of his uncle, recognized that he was not going to school. So he tried his best to take him to school, and finally, it was Laxman who realized going to school is not a bad idea because I get to sketch my peer group and my teachers. Next. Next slide, please. The people leave. This was a turning point for him to recognize, yes, there is an artistic instinct in him. The teacher recognized this people leave drawn by him when he was barely 4 years old and said, you're going to become a big artist one day. That struck a chord and there was no looking back. R.K. Laxman, a self-made artist who started his journey right from the age of 5. Next. He always used to comment on this one point that India is the country for anyone to take up cartoonist as a career or a journalism as a career. People talked about politics as a pastime, opening a newspaper in the morning, discussing with the family, talking to your colleagues in the office, going for a walk, talking about the political situation, in the marketplace, in the group, in the evening with friends and family. So, this helped Laxman to analyze a lot of characters through his discussion, through his observation, and through meeting people and doing a lot of networking. Next. So this is what I was talking about. Koravanji, the Punch magazine, followed by Free Press Journal. Next. Common man. Why is Laxman, how did he become so famous as a cartoonist? In a country where we have so many cartoonists, even during his as his contemporary during his time. I think it is the common man and his expression of his graphical satire through wit and humor, which was meant for the common man, the empathy and the sympathy that he had for the common man. This concept he had from his very, very early years, since his school days and his college days, of wanting to do something for the common man through his cartoons. And when he started his journey as a political cartoonist, he actually went around looking for this character, this iconic character. And he believed that the iconic character actually stood in front of him and found him. Laxman did not find the common man found him. So here we have this iconic character, the common man, standing tall right in front of me and saying that we are part and parcel of each other. So I am here for you and you're here for me. Let's take the journey together. And this iconic common man has no caste, no religion. He is an example and an icon representing you and me, the people of the country. And I think that made the difference in his cartoons, because he went through an era where there is not a single controversy in the political situation that he did not tap on. There is not a single political leader that he did not touch upon and brought forth the controversy that was happening in our country through the journey of India's independence. And that was purely because he had this common man representing his cartoons and showcasing the situations in the country. So I'm quickly going to go through the, the political journey of Laxman's life through the various prime ministers. We start with Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. And Laxman found Nehru as a very important political leader. He found him very intelligent, very focused. And one fine day, he happened to meet him, and he was given time just for 15 minutes. But it so happened, they spent time with each other for almost an hour and 15. One thing Pandit Nehru asked him, why is that you have removed the cap on my head? So he said, I found you and your real character coming out without the cap. Then in the course of his conversation, Pandit Nehru asked him, if you were to lead and take my place and my chair as a prime minister, how would you lead the country? What would you do? He said in one line, in one sentence, I think all my focus towards the improvement of the country would be for the common man. I would look into their needs, their situations, and what is required for them. And I think if we have a straight focus on what the common man needs, I think, it makes it very simple for any leader to take it forward. Of course, Pandit Nehru was quite impressed. The next prime minister was, next slide. Next slide, please. Lal Bahadur Shastri. I'm quickly going through this since there's very limited time. The next slide. Next slide, please. Indira Gandhi. So Indira Gandhi, as I don't know how much of you know, that had the longest tenure as a political leader and as a prime minister. He found her as a very bold and strong leader and was able to handle the situation of the country very well. Next slide. Next. 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 So this is how she was, a very dynamic person with all her cabinet ministers. She would look down, look up to her. Kept increasing the cabinet ministers through that little chair that she had over the table.
Hello, check. Hello, check. Hello, येतोय आवाज? हाँ, येतोय का?
Cartoons.
शशी बोलतोय मी. तुझं आवाज येतोय का माझा?
Of Mrs. Indira Gandhi and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Next slide. While India was going through, during Mrs. Gandhi's time, a very successful, political career that she had, soon the stable government that she had, that she was leading, was threatened. And next slide. Emergency was formed. This was a very tough time and very trying time for Laxman because he was able to bring forth any kind of situation, controversy. But during emergency, it became increasingly difficult for him. But he never kept quiet. He continued his graphical satire, portraying everything that was there. It was censored though, and the censors were literally on his head and on his neck to stop cartooning. So finally he went and met Mrs. Indira Gandhi and said, this is my bread and butter. Why are you doing this? Why are you penalizing me? I am just representing the democratic country of our country and bringing forth the situations for the common man. Mrs. Gandhi said, I'm not stopping you. You please continue. I have no right over this. Which made him pretty happy. He came out very happy, which was short-lived, because her advisors said, please go on a holiday out of India, and I think that would help you. Otherwise, if you continue this, you might probably go behind bars. So he had to be compelled to go to travel abroad with his family, and thought that was the end of his political journey. Next slide. So common man was going through, since independence, change and expectations, and rather disgusted during the emergency time. So as you can see in the sketches that Laxman has done. Next slide. Then came Moraji Desai. Next slide. Next. Mr. Charan Singh. So this was a period which was almost 20 years that was completed since independence, and India saw changeover of almost 5 different political leaders as prime ministers. Next slide. Indira Gandhi swept back and came back to power. Next slide. After her demise, her son, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, took over. Next slide. And this was a period where we saw a changeover of more than 8 political leaders who as prime ministers. Mr. Rajiv Gandhi. Next slide. I'm sorry, I'm not able to go through this details because of limited time. Next slide. Mr. VP Singh. So these are the various political parties who are part of the journey since independence, in the glorious 75 years of independence. Mr. Chandrasekhar, Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao, Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Laxman found Mr. Vajpayee as one of the most dynamic, intelligent, forward-thinking leaders who was able to bring about a lot of reforms and changes in our country. And, and he was even able to bring the relationship between India and Pakistan fairly close to some extent. But the first time when he took over as a prime minister, his tenure lasted for a very, very short time of 13 days. Next slide. Mr. Dev Gowda, I.K. Gujral, Sonia Gandhi. This is a very interesting sketch which I just wanted to show, which was a rare appearance of R.K. Laxman in his own cartoon. And he felt that he would rather be backstage reading a newspaper and not come in the forefront as a cartoonist to do something, at the political level, where people are flocking into number 10, residence of Sonia Gandhi. Next. Vajpayee again, back to power. Next. Mr. Manmohan Singh. And Laxman had, he was a man of with a sixth sense and had a vision for our current Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Modi ji. And this is the sketch which, when he was a Chief Minister of Gujarat, since then he had this vision that one day he would be a leader who will care for the nation and for the common man. Next slide. So we have our, Laxman's vision, I guess, is fulfilled, and we have Mr. Narendra Modi ji as our Prime Minister currently, who has a focus for us, for the common man. And interestingly, if you see this slide, he was the only political leader or the Prime Minister of whom he drew a sketch, a caricature of him with a victory sign. So here we are, R.K. Laxman Foundation, carrying Laxman's legacy forward for the youth of the country to, bring back the contributions that he has done through his almost 70 years of his journey as a political cartoonist. And, in light of this, what we have instituted here in Pune is an R.K. Laxman Museum, which is a one hub and telling the story of Laxman and his career as a political cartoonist. And it is an educational hub where the students will get an opportunity to do case study and research on his works and also be able to understand cartoonism in general. And so we do have an innovative art education program for the school students and the college students. So on behalf of my foundation, I do welcome all of you students to please come and witness this museum. Next slide. So this is the R.K. Laxman Museum, situated in Balewadi, Pune. Next. Next. So we have a social media campaign, and we would like all of you to participate in this to bring forth the legacy forward of Laxman, who used to sketch practically every single morning. And here we have a cartoon of the week to bring back his journey of his career, political career, and take it forward for all of us. Next slide. So I welcome all of you with this one thought. What Laxman did as a political journalist is his focus was the common man and to serve the common man of our country. Thank you.